Hi Sam, this is Justin Cothran, and this is the voiceover project for my capstone paper. You've already seen my paper online and provided feedback. Thanks, I appreciate that. Um, so here we go. As you know, I am currently an instructional coach for the district. I work with 7 high schools. But in the fall, I'm going to be transitioning over to Davis. I'll be a part-time teacher and a part-time instructional coach. So what I wanted my capstone to focus on was the effects of coaching and PD, what we offer to teachers, especially the teachers who are in the at-risk schools. How are we actually meeting their needs, coaching them? And basically, I wanted to consider the question, why our teachers in at-risk schools are very resistant to changing or to picking up the PDs that are currently offered at the district level. So kind of juggling a lot here. Um, the core of the paper, well, first of all, let's go back to this, how I picked this up. So when I work with these schools, we walk through dozens, if not hundreds, of professional developments that have been offered over the past 4 years. And I noticed that statistically speaking, the teachers in these at-risk schools, especially the Apollo 20 schools, are not likely to implement these strategies, these tools, at any point during the school year. So that got me to thinking, what's going on? As a coach who's supposed to bring about change and to make teachers reflective of their practice, and having a personal relationship with these teachers, I was thinking, what's the correlation? What's going on? Why are the teachers not picking up what the district recommends? So I started thinking about coaching at its very core. Is there something needed, some changes needed to the coaching practice that we offer the schools that are at risk? So that's how I came to be interested in this topic at hand. So I divided the paper into the sections. That's my introduction. But I also wanted to talk about concerns with the current instructional coaching profession of coaching models of professional development, and the coaching philosophy of the current coaching models. Basically, I wanted to look at what did Jim Knight and Reinke, I hope I'm saying that right, what research basically went into their coaching models, compare and contrast the two, and then I'm going to end with the implications of the coaching philosophies, like what could possibly happen if one or the other or both are used, and then sort of wrap up my conclusion. Um, Got ahead of myself a little bit. The 2 books I'm going to focus on will be Jim Knight's Instructional Coaching. This is currently the one and only instructional coaching model that HISD uses in any of its schools, and it doesn't matter if it's elementary, middle, or high school. We've been using this since 2011. The other one is Motivational Interviewing for Effective Classroom Management. The primary author is Reinke. And this is one that's been proposed that we, the district, will pick up starting in August of this year. Um, about 40 of us were selected to pilot this, and so I saw this as a unique opportunity to sort of look at both models and see how they work, what I like, what the differences are, what the implications for both are. So these are the core of my capstone. This is sort of my lit review. Look at these authors and see what's going on. Um, my concerns I've already touched on. Teachers, except for the very new educators, the ones who've taught less than 2 years, are statistically very unlikely to change instructional practices. It doesn't matter the relationship or the dynamic between the teacher and the instructional coach. If they've taught for 3 or plus years, I notice that, personally speaking, they typically will not pick up a strategy unless it's mind-blowingly applicable to what they are doing. The new teachers, of course, lacking the practice, will pick up a new tool and follow you. I conducted my own survey. I'm not going to focus too much on that because you can read it, but basically 75% of the teachers that I surveyed basically identified their #1 issue as literacy, the fact that our kids in HISD read 2 to 3 grade levels below their state peers. That is their concern, and that's what they wanted PDs to be focused on. So I use that as a lens to approach both Jim Knight and Reinke's motivational instructional practices. Alright, the coaching philosophy behind each. Jim Knight basically conducted his own research and in the Topeka, Kansas area. He did this for about 7 years, and I do believe that there were 10 schools in the test model, and he basically rolled out his instructional philosophies and tested them in his own schools. He did rely on a couple of studies, and that was called Pathways to Success, by the way. But when he did, he relied heavily on people who were current teachers in the classroom, and it had to be strategy-based results. Motivational interviewing is very different. It's a psychological approach. The core of their instructional practice comes from two studies, one being Miller and the other being, I don't see the name, Miller, and the other one is not important, we'll move on. But basically they pulled their studies from psychological coaching and interviewing of alcoholic and chemically dependent patients. So this is a psychological approach that's outside the classroom versus Jim Knight's classroom approach. So I found that to be incredibly interesting. The research, which I won't go too much into, basically they're very different from each other. Both of them rely on questioning and dialogue, which was interesting. Jim Knight was much more educational strategic based, where Reinke was much more psychological empathy and motivational questioning based approaches, which I don't want to get too much into. What I would like to focus on is the implications for this. I think that both have a great advantage. In fact, I think a combination of both would have the deepest impact. The motivational interviewing would be a great way to set up a rapport with teachers that you're coaching, especially recalcitrant or teachers who are resistant, because it builds that one-on-one relationship and lowers their affective filters. However, Jim Knight, in my personal opinion, his is the only model that basically had steps on what to do when you've tried coaching and you've walked through the steps, you've modeled, the teacher has identified their goals, you tried it, you come back, it didn't work. His 6-step approach to coaching basically tells you what to do when you have failed and you need to come back and revisit it. So in my opinion, there's two things. The combination of the two would probably bring out the best effect in terms of coaching, because the core of coaching is to get teachers to change their instructional practices. And I do believe that Jim Knight would be the most successful one in the long term if you're trying to get to teachers to change their practice and to measure the effect over more than one school year. However, both of them are lacking. Both of them seem to leave out teacher voice and choice to a large degree. There's some holes in both of them that need to be addressed, and my paper is talking about that. I need to develop that. Long-term studies need to be done, and I feel that both of these strategies in high-risk schools, they do not take into full consideration the gaps that teachers are dealing with and the specific needs that teachers have. I do believe that our PDs need to be more pointed and more strategy based in the beginning. We need to teach teachers what to do when they don't know what to do, if that makes sense. So this is definitely a work in progress. I hope you enjoy it. And I'm about to start my revision number 2 here in just a moment. Thanks, Sam. Talk to you later.